You're listening to the So Tell Us podcast
with David Feinberg and Jared McCallie. How was that, David?
I grew up.
Okay, yeah, and I just fell in love with just I don't know, Jersey's just so nice, and like there's Targets, and it's basically like the same as Lancaster. It's the same.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it is about New Jersey. Like I grew up in New Jersey, and I feel like I'm like one of the only people who like grew up in New Jersey doesn't like fucking hate New Jersey. But I don't know. I just like love like.
I grew up in Bucks County, and I kind of fucking hate Bucks County.
Wait, what town in Bucks County?
I grew up right outside of Doylestown, so I kind of like went to school with a lot of bougie people. So it was
town. Yeah.
But there's some cool people, and there's cool things to do there. I just like happy to be out of it. But New Jersey's like a new thing for me, so it feels like a nice new suburb.
Wait, where in New Jersey? I'm sorry. Again.
We just moved to Cinnaminson. So
I know.
Oh, shit. Yeah. My girlfriend's from Morristown, so
it's right down the street.
Yeah. Tell her to give us some bread.
Yeah, right. Get all Sherry on the horn. I do want to just say before we jump into everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have like prepared questions and everything, the things that we sent you and things like that. But we found that the most interesting thing so far has just been polite chatter. And I know that the best way to interrupt and destroy polite chatter is to address it directly. But I mean, we're going to be recording, and also at any point during the podcast, if there's something, we're recording right now. But if there's anything during the podcast that afterwards you're like, absolutely strike that from the record. We don't want that coming up in the court of law or whatever. Tell us after the show.
This is like the jinx, right?
Yeah. This is
my on and just confess to a bunch of murders in the bathroom.
Well, the coolest part about sketch comedy was all the good alibis we had for the murders we did in the woods. Yeah. That was a pretty sick time.
You don't know what we did at the Toronto Sketch Fest, but it's definitely not like in Canada or in the continental U.S.
Yeah. There was this show I did where I wore like a horse mask for a bunch of it, and that was actually someone else posing as me, so I could be out murdering other people.
That's Andy Kaufman's alibi. He was just killing people at Tony Clifton stage.
He's definitely still at large. He's not dead.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Murder all those people.
Yeah.
Great feeling.
What if that's like a thing where it's like how they're like Tupac and Elvis are on an island, but it's just dead comedians are actually all on an island?
That's way more likely, honestly.
Just Bill Hicks and Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love
murdering people.
Yeah.
Big problem.
Conspiracy theory. Wasn't there like a weird conspiracy theory that people thought that fucking Alex
Jones
was Bill Hicks, right?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, what?
Yeah, they look very, very similar, and I'm kind of, this is the most embarrassing thing I'm going to admit, but as a young man, I delved a little bit into an Alex Jones phase. Like
you said when I was a young man, it happens.
Yeah. And while everyone was running out and getting laid, I was worried about if Obama was taking over. No, I'm dead.
You were like hoarding fluoride tablets and shit, or like.
They always do sell those weird supplements on that show where they're like, buy gold and mayonnaise. But yeah.
That's the thing is that whole Alex Jones thing, now that's like kind of in the rear view a little bit more. It's like, it's weird that was just a supplement racket. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was just was used to push supplements.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like super weird.
That man also at this point has White House press credentials. Just letting everybody know that he was granted those.
Crazy?
Yeah. The nice thing is like I think like before the Newtown thing, that was like really weird. But like it's funny, like literally right before this conversation, I keep on reading about like the whole like pandemic, like the whole like the conspiracy on the COVID thing, and I'm like, I'm like, I don't believe in it, but I'm also just like, I conspiracy theories are so fascinating to me that I love like being up on them. And I've heard people reference things about like conspiracies with the COVID thing, but I haven't actually like delved into. I don't know what any of them actually. I know there's something about like 5G or something like that.
Yeah, 5G towers. They think that people in Britain were burning down 5G towers because they thought that they were giving people COVID. And I don't know why. It's also they always come. I'm also a bit of a conspiracy. Not like a. I like looking at the world of conspiracy, I suppose.
Yeah, me too.
And it's always one of those things where, and I don't mean to get into shaky territory, but it's always fucking like 4 steps away from anti-Semitism. There's always like 4 separation before it's like they're like, well, the World Bank is probably doing, and then it's like the fucking Jew. Like,
Globalist, please.
Goes down that path.
Like globalism.
Yeah, that's just you call them globalists. And it's not anti-Semitic when you say that.
I was gonna one of the things that I was actually going to ask you guys is, and one of the things that I do really like talking about with other comedians is like, what are other like, was there a world of hobbies for you guys before? It's interesting to interview the two of you because you are a couple and you're engaged. Congratulations. But the exciting thing about that is also like, did you guys meet through comedy? I suppose let's start there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
where was that?
It's also hard because we're like 2 halves of one body. So I'm like, so during this conversation,
You're both dressed like little. You're both dressed like you're on the same little league team or something.
We are.
Yeah.
Yes. So we met in 2012, which in comedy years is like 25 years ago.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah. So we both, in some fashion, tried out to be a part of a sketch comedy group through the Philly Improv Theater. So I auditioned as a performer, Matt auditioned as a writer, so he submitted like a writing packet, and then we got like Mickey Mouse Club together. So that is how we met.
Yeah, that's nice. And how long until the relationship blossomed into this transformer of love that we see before us?
Aww. Transformer of Love, the best Transformers movie.
That was the subheading for the Bumblebee movie.
That's when Herbie the Love Bug and the Transformers movies came together.
Yeah, when they finally fucked after all those years of sexual tension.
Is this the Transformers universe? Can't wait for that. Can't wait for Lars von Trier to do his Transformer movie.
Chalk outlines of Bumblebee. Fucking Herbie the Love Bug.
No, we worked together on the Flat Earth for
so that
a
was
while,
that group.
And then from the Flat Earth we started doing Matt and Jackie stuff.
The Incredible Shrinking Match.
Yeah, and then I don't know, just kind of one thing led to another, I guess. But so we were working together for about 2 years before we.
Was there I mean, I'm getting into it, baby. I want to. But was there an attraction before? Like, Matt, were you like kicking the dirt? Like, oh, shucks, I like her. You know, like, was that the thing? Or?
Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah.
We were both dating other people.
Yeah, that's what makes it tricky. Like, we were like dating other people, and so I think there was like a thing where like, I think it was like when I first met Jackie. Like, Jackie's like a very like magnetic person, so like I just like knew I liked you, and I knew I like wanted to like work with you and everything. Yeah. So like I think that any like at that time, if there was any kind of like romantic attraction, it was sort of like, all right, just put that away. You know what I mean? And like don't even think about that. Because we worked very closely without issue for a very long time. And then it just sort of, I think it just got sort of.
I think everybody else realized before we realized.
Yeah, I think
it was one of those
people kind of suspected that something was going on before we even like suspected anything was going on. Yeah. But then it just got to a point where we like kind of just had to acknowledge it.
We're like, all right, we probably need to break up.
So that's weird too, because there's a possibility that your parents had met before you were a couple. Is that a possibility? Because they went to a show or something? That's what I'm saying.
Parents don't really come to a lot of things. Like my
Tell
dad's
me about it, sister. Oh boy.
I kind of yeah.
Yeah.
My dad doesn't come to anything, and my mom comes like every couple years. I don't know. I did a stand-up show with my mom once, but that's the first time my mom met Matt's parents. Was at that stand-up show.
Yeah.
Could you guys talk a little bit about the early writing stuff? Do you guys find that it's like very different from the stuff that you guys are doing right now?
Yeah, I would say it's a little different. Like I'm sorry, I feel like I'm like
No, go for it. Yeah.
So the writing we were doing with the Flat Earth, we kind of like compartmentalized the writing. At first, I wasn't even writing for the Flat Earth, so I feel like you should kind of speak to that. But do you want to speak to that?
Sure. Well, I mean, like the Flat Earth, like it was like like Jackie said earlier, it was like a group that was put together by the theater. So it was a really great group, but we didn't specifically choose each other. So at the beginning, especially, there's a lot of different voices, and then as people kind of left, like that group kind of got a little more focused, and we kind of developed like a voice for that group. But especially in the beginning, there was a lot of different people, and not that there was like conflict or anything like that, but just it just felt like there was a lot of different perspectives in there.
Yeah.
And I think around that time is when we started writing together, because we both had like similar points of view and similar sensibilities and stuff. Yeah.
This was at Fit?
What was that?
This was at Fit?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
But Matt approached me and was kind of like, I want to write with you. And I was like, because I wasn't writing anything.
Right.
I mean, so, sorry, I like totally had a brain fart just now. Yeah, so Matt approached me and he was like, I want to write with you. And I was like, oh, that's like, wow, how amazing. That's like so nice. So we kind of started tossing ideas around. And the first time we performed as a duo was like December of 2012 at this show called The Theme Show, which used to be a thing. It was like a monthly sketch show where everybody kind of wrote and performed a sketch around a theme. So we did one based on my mom, actually. And we knew she wasn't going to come, so it was pretty safe. But yeah, but in the beginning, we definitely were writing kind of like goofier, kind of like sillier kind of stuff, and then we got a little more like emo with it as we went on.
I think that when we first started, I think like part of the goal was like to be a little. I mean, it was definitely like goofier stuff, but I think like why I wanted to work with you is like we would hang out a lot like after shows, and we would like have these like really cool conversations, and there was a lot of stuff where you would like tell me stories about like you told me like the first time we did a Flat Earth show together, you were like, you said that your therapist showed up at the show, but your mom didn't. I thought it was like such a funny. And just like,
wow!
It was like kind of the seed. Oh no, you actually what actually became that first sketch was you told me like you went out to do karaoke with your mom.
Yes.
And I feel like it was a night where I was like hanging out with you earlier, and I was like, how did your night go? And you were like, well, I went to do karaoke with my mom, and we were like wind up doing like passive aggressive songs like at each other and stuff like that, and like we had like an anti-movie duet at some point. And so we wrote a sketch that was based on that. It was like a mother and daughter having a fight, but the fight was like all through their karaoke song choice.
Oh, that's amazing. That's such a good idea. Holy shit, that's it.
Yeah.
Meredith Brooks, bitch.
Well, all the songs in the sketch though we made up. Like they were all about like how
it was like very like direct.
I was like a disappointment or something. And,
my daughter's a disappointment.
Yeah, wait, what was it? It's like
I wish I had a different daughter.
Oh, that's it. I wish I had her. And Matt did this really like Edith Bunkery voice. He was my mom, but sounded nothing like her. It was awesome.
So cool. Well, that's I liked one thing that I thought was really interesting was that you said that the early stuff was this very goofy sort of a thing, but then as you moved along, it became it got towards this like emo phase. Can you talk a little bit about, because there are a lot of interesting sketches that you guys have now that are focused on like the dark side of humanity. I know that one that comes to mind immediately is like is the prank one where you guys did the homeless man in the park. So like one where it was like that was like a theme of like goodwill and like peace among neighbors, and then you guys like completely like turned the rock over and showed the bugs beneath it. Like, can you guys tell us a little bit about like how did that process sort of start, like the maturing of the cheese, if you will? How did it progress?
I honestly, I don't, you know what, I think that the moment I remember like really like figuring out we had something, well, we did this sketch is like, it was not like a serious sketch. It was probably like our goofiest sketch. It was
The
like,
Coma one?
no, it was the bird watching one. And that was like a really early one, but it was about these two bird watchers who were just very loud and they were just screaming to each other the entire time. It's like such a stupid premise for a sketch. But there was just something about that sketch that like we both loved because like those characters just like, they were so fucking stupid and doomed and they just like loved each other. So like they were just like such good friends that like they would just like do things together even though they were like total fucking idiots and like
and oblivious to like everything around them.
Yeah. And I think that sketch really like I think it really opened us up to like writing about these like kind of people who are just trying to like they're so flawed and they're so like dumb, but they're just trying to like
do the best they
can, you know, like, and so I think that was like the first. I don't think we like realized at that time, but I think that was like the first kind of like eureka thing. But I think that the one we did a show, so like going back to our relationship history, like we got together like right around Christmas in 2014.
Yeah.
And we did a Christmas show, and it was like kind of like, I mean, not to get too personal, but it was like both of the relationships we were in deteriorated.
Yeah,
and
it
like
was dark.
and you know like and so like we were doing this Christmas show together, and we like I think we just were in a very weird spot, and we put a lot of that moment into this Christmas show, and we actually brought back those Birds characters to do like their Christmas like that nobody would have them over for Christmas, so they just like hung out. But I think that was kind of like it was like this.
Pat O'Keefe loves that sketch. He talks about it all the time.
But it was just this like very kind of like goofy,
sincere,
but like very kind of like a somber, you know. I mean, that was like definitely the mindset we were in.
Yeah.
And
we did a sketch that was like set in the Great Depression where we were giving each other presents, but it was like a stick wrapped in wrapping. You know, it's like everything is just kind of crumbling, but we're still trying, and it's like, oh.
Yeah. Well, that was actually because we were just trying to think of like Christmas themed stuff, and I think somehow we got on the subject of like the song "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," and there's that line like we'll muddle through somehow.
Yeah.
And it was like it's really
that's
corny,
the saddest
but, like, that's such
line.
a sad line. And, like, it just like I love that song so much, and I think we were trying to make like a sketch that was about that phrase, like we'll muddle through somehow, and that was what that Great Depression sketch wound up being. It's like this couple that's just like they have like fucking nothing except each other, you know, like, and they're just trying to like make the best of it. It just like looks so.
You're gonna make me cry.
They're just like all they can do is just like find rocks and like wrap them up in newspaper and give them to each other. That's like their entire Christmas. But like, that's I don't know. That's like very much what that moment felt like.
I like that. That's like the aspect of like what I like. I think David likes in comedy is like you find something so minute that people, you know, like you hear that Christmas song a million times and you never think of it.
Yeah.
And it's like that's amazing. This Christmas I heard one and I was like, the guy's like, "Kiss her once for me," and that song, you know what I'm talking about? And I was like, what is this? I've been singing this for 25 years, like, you know.
Yeah. You're like,
I love that.
You're like, I've been singing this song for so long. I didn't know it was about cooking.
I love the image of both of you, like it's so funny that like to be bringing the humor out of it, like. The image of both of you in deteriorating relationships around Christmas time, like wearing big pajamas, dragging them through the snow or something like that, is like sort of funny in a third person, we made it through perspective. I was wondering if we could start with Jacquie and then with Matt. Could you guys talk about the themes that you guys feel like you guys are bringing to the writing room with each other, just in terms of the compilation that you guys do together? Around those kinds of things. Jacquie, can we start with you?
The writing room might be the bedroom. Just kidding.
Okay.
Well, it's funny.
Put it away.
Sorry.
We can get into that too. Sorry, that was weird.
It's a small second room. I've seen their house. It's the writing room.
You haven't seen this house though. I know part of
That's true.
because you wanted a Cinnaminson Cribs episode. It's very
I don't think anyone in history has ever crossed their arms and said
Cinnaminson Cribs, baby.
That's the international term for I'm choking and Cinnaminson Cribs.
Help me, I'm a
Or I'm
choking Caucasian person.
I'm choking in my Cinnaminson Cribs.
Yeah. As far as themes go, I mean, not to get too personal, but here I go. I definitely am a mentally ill person and was dealing with that for a while, and I had the therapist come and everything. But for a while, I wasn't maybe managing as well as I could. I wasn't on Zoloft yet, so comedy really was like songwriting for me. It was like getting out all that fucking deep shit, either feelings of inadequacy or sadness or loss, regret, that kind of stuff. But like taking that and then as a challenge, how the fuck can I make these terrible things successful in some way? So that dark chocolate fucking 88% cacao shit, how can I turn that into something that will be cathartic for not just me, maybe somebody watching it or whatever, but without doing it in a really heavy-handed way, which is hard. I don't know. So
awesome.
I'm not as
awesome
genius, and I'm definitely not as prolific as Matt, because I'm still I think at heart more of a performer than a writer. I'm like a collaborator. That's what I like. But yeah, that's where I'm coming from. Is just being a nerd child who kind of felt always an outsider, and then also dealing with some family shit. There's a lot of family stuff that I've also kind of
Right. I was going to say that that sketch where it's that Jackie, that you've spent the money that you guys were going to use to get out of town. The one that you guys filmed in Black.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My God, I was like, oh, this one, just a little family in the David Lynch style dark. It's so
yeah,
scary.
It's bleak. And even with the Flat Earth, when I started writing for them, I didn't write, I'm not a churner of words. But I did write this one sketch that's probably the darkest thing I've ever written, right? It's okay, yeah. And even now I'm like, oh my God, was that too dark? There was a sketch we did where I wanted it to kind of have an interesting stage picture. And I came up with this idea of a family recording an answering machine message a la the 90s suburbs, where it's hi, you've reached the Nicholsons, it's little baby Fred. And so it's that, but it's this family around a table, but there's conspicuously a chair with nobody at it.
Oh,
so they're recording it, and then they're recording bop, 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 and it gets to where this kid would be recording, but it's just an empty space. So keeps going around, and they all look over at this space, and nobody's there.
But the dad is just I think the dad is kind of avoidant, so he just will not let the family out of this thing because he just wants to pretend this didn't happen.
Oh,
it's so fucked up.
But I know it's really fucked up, and we've done it before.
It's fucking funny.
No,
That's
yeah,
the funny.
It's very funny to me, and some people have been ugh, and we've done it at festivals occasionally where it's just silence, and I'm ugh.
That's either that sketch is great because it's either
It'd be a
everyone's
barometer for
favorite
the
fucking
crowd.
sketch that they've ever seen, or it's people fucking hate it.
Yeah,
And
they're it's so terrible.
Yeah.
You would even joke about a
Yeah.
child dying.
Yeah.
That's super.
Oh, you have.
I never.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. It reminds me of I believe that you guys used to do that sketch, Kamikaze Reunion. Wasn't that?
Yeah.
That was Jared. This was a sketch, and you know what? I should be. Could you guys describe it for people that might be listening and not familiar?
Yeah,
Can you describe it for people who don't have YouTube? That's what David's trying to say right now.
Well, this sketch is one that you probably couldn't do adapt to a video. It was very much a stage thing.
Oh, okay.
And then, it's a little corny to say it, but I think we were kind of playing also the group, the Flat Earth that we were in was we kind of always had too many props and too many costumes, and it always took so long for us to set things up.
God, yeah.
So I think we were kind of in the sketch, we were kind of playing into that a little bit. But the idea was that one of the other writers was pitching this idea forever of like a kamikaze class reunion where just like nobody's there, and so we wound up doing this sketch where like it starts with like the whole thing is just you see us on stage setting up this sketch, and so it's like we put a table out, we put a tablecloth on it, we set up all these place settings, we have like balloons,
snacks.
we're literally opening up potato chip bags, and
like we're doing that for probably like a good 2 minutes.
And it's just music, dark stage, but you just see us shuffling around setting this sketch up for fucking ever. And then the lights come up, and it's just like an empty stage with this setup, and there's just like a poster on it that just says Kamikaze Class Reunion, and the song Celebrate comes on, and it's just that for like with nothing happening for like a minute, and then the lights go off, and we just trash everything. They just pop all the balloons and like dump all the potato chips in the trash.
It's definitely a big like fuck you to the audience.
And it just takes like another 2 minutes just to like reset the stage. But so like literally the joke is a sort of meta one about like just us setting up this huge sketch with like the setup and the payoff are the same thing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, that would be hard to. Okay, I see what you're saying. That's really good.
But that one is so fun to do because there's like no words. You get to kind of like read the crowd and like, oh my god, how much can we milk this? You hear like weird little titters of laughter, just like what? You know, like just things, and it's really funny.
Yeah, because it's almost like the stage equivalent of like a Far Side comic. Like it's you know what I mean? Like it's just like an image. Like there's no text to it. It's just like you just have to like look at this thing and figure out what's funny about it. You know.
Yeah.
And which is interesting because I remember like sometimes people wouldn't quite figure out what the joke is for a minute. You would hear it kind of like you would hear it like occur to people in waves. You know what I mean? Like
it wasn't like immediately like it was like oh my god, you know, like it's I love that reaction.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah.
I think I saw you guys perform that in 2016 with Good or something like that at Plays and Players. And all I remember is like sitting in the audience and people like having that horrible mix of like disgust and amusement.
It's amazing.
And so, like you guys ruined so many first dates that night.
Well, that's why we got into this whole thing.
Right? But I remember rolling waves of like as it sat there, and just the dead weight of it is so hefty. I mean, it's an incredibly like applaudable sketch. I mean, it's like it could be a painting. That's how good it is. Nonetheless, I don't want to get us too off track.
Has come to our shows, and that's his favorite piece.
I've looked up a couple of the sketches, and this is my favorite one, but I think it follows the same track of like, you guys have this thing that's like, I guess in stand-up, but in the same in sketch, it's just like the misdirect that you guys have, and you did so well. The Minion sketch. I'm not joking. Like, Jesus Christ, I laughed out loud. I was like, that's so good. There was no better movie that you could have done. Yeah. Like, that was amazing.
Yeah, that's the fucked up thing is like we like okay, so the backstory of that one is that I just fucking hate them. I fucking hate the Minions so much. I'm like a very easygoing guy, but for some reason the Minions like rubs me the wrong
That's the strongest opinion Matt has. It's like fuck Minions.
You're on Minion Cast with David and Jared, so
We're talking about the little yellow fellows with lots of personality. All right.
And no discernible dialogue.
You know what I think it is? I think what upsets me about the Minions is I remember being at like a coffee shop around Christmas, and they had like painted like each window pane like a different like Christmas theme thing. So it was like the Charlie Brown Christmas and like the Grinch and all that stuff. And then they had like a fucking window, like a window of like Minions. I was like,
they're on like the Mount Rushmore of Christmas, and you're like,
I feel like they've just been so pushed, like they were like created in a lab to like be like
they're like corporate fucking
they jumped the line in like being like classic characters or something like that. It's like
by just being like ubiquitous, like they're just fucking everywhere.
They get some Subarus as well as like anything else in the world. You know, like they can just be anywhere, and people are like, "Oh, good!" Like the Minions are the mom putting a a pinata in the backyard while she drinks indoors.
There's no love lost here with the Minions. As a man who, when he shaves his beard, has been compared to Gru a couple of times. I don't know if you can see that. So
yeah, we're gonna cancel them on this podcast.
but we did not like the but then when the movie The Minions were coming out, I was like, Jackie, we have to fucking go see this movie. And so we like got very, very, very high, and like we were like wasting time before we saw the movie, and there was like a Walmart or something like that. Or maybe it was before
Walmart.
that. But we wound up when we found these like Minion shirts there, and we're like, how fucked up would it be if we like bought these Minion costumes and like went to see this Minions movie like as adults, like high fucking as shit. And so we did that, and we just had these shirts. But like when we bought the shirts, we we're like, wouldn't it be funny if we like ordered tickets for something else?
Yeah.
And we just could not top 12 Years a Slave.
No, 12 Years a Slave was definitely the worst movie.
But we tried to be like, well, we obviously can't do that.
Yeah, we're like that. We don't want we don't want to like make light of that. We don't want people to think we're making light of 12 Years a Slave because obviously like.
But it's like, what other movie has like that weight and that?
Yeah, oh, so good. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Just to jump us back a page, I thought that, Matt, we would ask you the same question of when it comes to themes that you often find either in your own work or when you guys are coming together. What would you guys say that is? Matt, specifically, what would you say that is with yourself?
Yeah, I think that a big thing, like I said earlier, like I think like the idea of like friendship, like I think it's like a thing that for some reason like we really explore a lot. Where like we're just like people kind of like pulling for each other, and like people going through like tough stuff, but they have someone to kind of like pull them along, or like they're going through something with somebody. I also think just like I don't know, just with the Matt and Jackie stuff, I think like exploring like romantic relationships in like a kind of like a more vulnerable kind of way, like and like the realities of being in a romantic relationship with somebody, and like the kind of the ups and downs and stuff like that.
Like that train sketch.
The train sketch is one I'm thinking of, but I mean, I think that like a lot of stuff that we've written together kind of comes from like almost like the genesis of it, like similar to that Christmas thing. Like I think that a lot of times the genesis is like like I'm feeling this way and I can't kind of explain it. So like what's like a story or like a sketch that kind of helps like other people understand this feeling that I'm having. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think, like something like we did a sketch about like where like an entire relationship is kind of shown through like train stops. It's kind of hard to explain, but I think that was like this kind of feeling of like, when you get past the honeymoon phase of a relationship and you start dealing with like the realities of like living and dealing with another person and like
literally the stops were like things in a relationship. So it's like, it goes from like noticing each other to like flirting to like whatever, and then it goes to like taking off my wedding ring when I'm out with the girls. Just all this like real shit, and then it's like, is it worth it? And we at the end we decide yes, it is.
But I think like those things like trying to find things that are like hard to like put words to, and kind of like creating stories to kind of like,
or like illustrating it in like a way.
But definitely like definitely like friendship. I think it's like a really like a big one for us for some reason.
For some reason.
We're
on the same little league team.
So you guys have like built each other up a lot. Like you have very nice things to say about each other. And in knowing that I was going to interview you, I tried to. I have a very small circle of people who know sketch and things like that, but I did get a hold of one person who's familiar with both of you, and I wanted to share this because this is really nice. I will tell you their name if you want to know, but I first met Matt in an introductory class for sketch. He was the instructor, and he pushed me into a broom closet. No, I'm just kidding. He was the instructor, and he made. No, I'm kidding. He made me want to join that class, so I volunteered at FIT. I got to see them, and their content is so good. They're very different and out there. They were part of a variety group called Hey We're Cool, and those shows were
Oh.
so much fun. I felt very welcome. They're very supportive and super nice.
Cool. Who is that?
This is a young lady by the name of Jacquie Benhayan.
Oh my
yeah,
God! Yeah, we know Jacquie.
Yeah, Jackie's awesome.
Yeah, she does stand-up stuff, and she was in It's the New,
Mhm.
which is a sketch group that our old roommate Bill Rick was also in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. Oh, that's like so
Yeah.
nice of her to say that.
Yeah, she like I just told her, I like mentioned it, and then she was like, "Oh my God, that's so cool!" And then that's where the quote came from. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know her because of being like from the Lancaster area?
Yeah. We she is like 1 year. I think she's at 4 and I'm at like 3. It's like coming up on that, but she's exactly like 1 year. I started on her like 1 year or something like that. Like we're 1 year apart. Yeah. So like the first night I ever went to, she was like, it's my 1 year anniversary. And I was like, yeah. And so that's how I went. Yeah, she's rad though. So she's gonna hear this and I'm so excited.
Aw,
that's so cool.
Well, thanks, Jacquie.
Yeah, thanks,
from
Jacquie.
one Jacquie to another, and
Yeah.
from one Matthew to
A Jackie.
another Jacquie. Yes.
Jackie to
But
Jack.
Matt, I mean, I am hyping that up again, and I don't know how much you want to get in your own stuff, but Matt's been like writing stuff forever.
Yeah.
And Matt, like, now I'm interviewing you. Okay.
Hello.
No, but I feel like you should talk about some of the other. I don't know. I mean, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You could talk about some other stuff.
I'll just be
Yeah.
No. I don't know. Do you want
commit to the bit.
Try it.
I don't know. See, that's so interesting. I'm just like, everybody needs to know everything about that. And he's like, do they though? Yeah, probably not.
I think but like even before like the comedy stuff, like, you know, there's always like writing. I mean, like before the comedy stuff, I was like doing music and stuff like that. So, you know, but I've always just been interested in writing and trying to make things and get creative projects off the ground. And you know, I think that, like the comedy thing is like just sort of a chapter in that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But
Yeah. Does yours come from like Jacquie kind of mentioned it? I don't know, but like I'm pretty sure my stand-up all comes from like my family and all that stuff. Is that like where you're kind of like, you kind of mentioned it, but like, is that what got you guys in? Is there like a certain reason you got into it? Like you said, you've been writing forever, but like, I don't know. There's a classic answer of like, oh, it's a funny kid, you know, or something like that.
Yeah. Which what's funny is like I'm not like a funny guy. Like I'm not like a funny like jokester kind of guy, you know. Like, and so like I don't think that like at work, like, you know, I have like told people I do and like people like think that is like the fucking weirdest thing that I like weird quiet me does like has any funny like a funny bone in my body, you know. Like, so like I think that like, you know, for me it's less like you have like you know, like some family stuff you are dealing with, and like for me it's just like just growing up as like a weird kid in the suburbs. But like there's not like a particular thing. Like my family's pretty supportive.
Oh my God, yeah,
cool,
his family is lovely.
Yeah, and just, you know, I mean, it's just like generally just feeling like a weirdo all the time.
Yeah.
And like but I don't think there's like any kind of like crazy origin story really with that. Yeah. But
yeah.
Yeah.
I used to just watch a lot of stand-up on Comedy Central. And and that's what I would spend my Friday nights doing. And then I was like, I want to be a stand-up. So that was like a thing I had in the back of my head, but I was like, but I can't. And I started taking improv classes in 2011 at Philly Improv Theater, with the intention of like getting myself back on stage, because I was like a theater kid until I was like, I am done with the people involved with this. Oh my God. And I was like, I'm doing improv to get myself back on stage so that I can eventually do stand-up. And then I fell into sketch and I was like, no, actually, that's what I want to do. Because I am a little neurotic and like I am a bit of a perfectionist, and like being able to really, which you do in stand-up as well, but like being able to really like finish something and like complete something and like do it in a group and then like have a concrete thing and be like, voila, here it is.
Yeah.
Like that is very like satisfying to me. And like improv, like just, oh my God, it just like makes me so fucking nervous. I hate it. And then afterwards I'm like, oh, I could have said this, you know, like I can't, I'm too like self-critical. I just can't.
Yeah.
I think maybe now that I'm on Zoloft, I could be a little better with like letting go, but definitely like at the time it was like it felt like I wanted to rip my skin off. It was just like not what I should be doing.
I think like probably not for everybody, but I think like for definitely for both of us, like improv, it's sort of like this. Well, for me, it's like very not stressful because like it's like just sort of like this fun thing to do, and I'm not very good at it. But like
I need to be good at things, or else I don't do that.
And that's the thing is, I feel like with improv, it's like there's not like a finished product at the end of it. So it's like you don't even really.
It's like jazz, but I don't know. I don't like jazz. I shouldn't compare to that, but right. Yeah, it's like just like playing around. I'm like, oh, but I just want to do that privately. Like I think because like Matt and I have like improvised a little bit just like in private, just like, all right, let's just fucking go. And some ideas have actually like come out of it. Like let's fucking jam. Let's fucking.
It's like actually during quarantine, my girlfriend and I, we were like, should we do improv in the house?
Oh God.
That might be the worst thing we ever do. Like it could be worse.
You might start a sketch duo, so I don't know.
Yeah. Right? That might be good. But I mean, it could
but
be
anything can happen, and that's what's scary about improv.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, it's.
I can imagine. In my relationship, it would be like, somebody give us a place, and my girlfriend would be like, the kitchen and the dishes. Let's do those. You know. That's mine.
Very, very grounded improv, though. Very.
You just do all the chores. Yeah. That's it.
Heavy object work classes. Oh,
yeah.
I was wondering, because we are, I mean, we've gone a pretty long time now, actually, but I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about, and we've sort of hinted at it, is that I think of you guys very much as community builders in the scene, in terms of going to your house for parties, and just like, I remember one time in college, and after this, I'm going to read another really nice quote about you guys. One time in college, I had to write a paper, like a report about a networking event. And Jackie, I think I went over to you at a party at your house, and I was like, can I pretend that this is a networking event? Absolutely. And you told a bunch of people to look businesslike, and I took a picture of everyone and I sent it in that I was at a comedy networking event. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
It was what was it?
I said you're welcome.
Oh, it was wonderful. Thank you very much for it. Let me grab this quote here. This is a quote from someone that I'm sure that you both know very well. Matt and Jackie are two of the smartest and kindest people I've ever met, and that's enough to make me like them. But I think what makes Matt and Jackie special as writers, comedians, and performers is that they care. They care about the material being good and unique. They care about the audience having a good time. They care about each other. And I think that the audiences are expecting comedy that they aren't used to that level of real compassion that we get from Matt and Jackie. Their work is very funny, but it's not just funny. It comes from this sincere place of caring. And I genuinely think if more people approached what they do with that level of concern, things would be a lot better. That's from Joe Moore, who's another fantastic.
I'm actually starting to cry right now. That's so nice. Oh my God.
We got tears on the podcast.
We just get married? What's happening here?
I thought David was going to say signed Barack Obama.
Phone your grandparents and ask them what they think of your comedy career. Anyway. We really, I really do think that you guys are such makers of community in this scene, which is really fantastic. Could you guys speak a little bit about, I mean, you guys have been in Philadelphia a while now. Could you talk about what the scene has done for you guys, how ways that it's changed in a lot of ways?
It's definitely like changed a lot, I think. I think it was a lot smaller probably when we got involved, and then just because of like the opening of Good and like I think just like more people and more like diverse voices have come into the mix, which is like fucking awesome, and I'm like so happy about that. And I think also like society wise, I think like humor has also changed like rapidly and like, I don't know. I think like people are becoming a little bit more thoughtful about stuff. So I think when we started stuff, maybe people were getting away with doing things that maybe now would be like, ugh, you know, like, and it's only been 8 years since we started and we already see like such a change, but I think it's definitely like a very positive thing. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've seen so many people come and go. I feel like we're like super, super, super seniors. We're like, we're like 25-year-olds,
Still in high school.
Still in high school. No, but not in like a bad way. Just like I don't know. It's nice seeing like people's growth, and we love like supporting people and just like championing people. We both taught sketch, and I'm always like encouraging. I mean, when I don't teach anymore, Matt still teaches, but we love like encouraging people to do stuff because we found so much like personal kind of fulfillment doing this stuff. Just like meeting the best people, just like following what they do and just supporting them and just like meeting all these great weird brains has just been like amazing. And then just like getting like go places like festivals and stuff, and then like connecting with people. Just like our world has like expanded so much outside of just Philadelphia, and we love Philadelphia, and we love like being like trying to be the best like ambassadors of Philadelphia as we can, and like bringing people here too. So like, I don't know, all of those connections, I do like hooking weirdos up with like minded weirdos. And if they haven't found this person, I'm like, oh my God, why have you not worked together? Like that would be, I just want to see that happen for you, you know, like, I don't know. I love that kind of shit. That makes me so happy. There's an animator friend of mine who I hooked up with like, with other animators I know, and like I'm not an animator, but I like know all these people because I've done like voiceover stuff, you know, we've done like video stuff, and just like seeing that, I'm like, oh my God, that person is now working with, that's so fucking cool. I'm like so happy about that. So I don't know.
I think like the sketch festivals, they were like like going out of town to like, I think that was like
that's our favorite
cause like, that was like the big, I don't know, I think that was like the best thing to do, and especially like for growing the scene, like the sketch scene is so small as it is, but like and it's not like even nationally it's not like a big
it
deal.
takes a lot. I mean, not to like, but it takes a lot of work to do sketch comedy. It's like writing little mini plays,
but going to like Toronto and Montreal and like and Chicago and all these different cities, and like meeting people from all over the country that are kind of in the circuit, you know, like and getting them interested in coming to Philadelphia to perform. Like, I feel like the last couple sketch fests, there's a lot of people that we've met in different cities that have like, you know, come to Philadelphia. And I don't know, I love like when people visit Philly and getting to like, you know, like
kind of show them around a bit.
Like as corny as it is, but like, you know, like have a cheesesteak, like have a tasty cake, like, you know, here's a soft pretzel, you know, like do all that, like let's run up the Rocky Steps, like, you know, doing all that kind of bullshit.
We love like hosting people,
love
which
that
is
stuff.
Why we also like having like big parties where we're just like everybody come and then you all just talk to each other like that. That just makes us really happy.
So, but I think that those sketch festivals especially, like, I think like are really cool for building the community, and like, and I think, I don't know, it's cool like to see the Philly comedy community from like other people's perspective too. I think that's like, that was like a big deal, like of like, you know, you do stuff locally and then you go out of town, and like it's really like wild to like bring your material and like and the perspective that you've kind of like acquired from like working within this community to another town and have it go over well, but also like to have people from like other cities come to Philly and just be like holy shit, this person is so fucking funny, and like this venue is awesome, and this you know, even just like, you know, this bar or this restaurant is cool, and you know,
like share the things that like we enjoy and are special about this place with other people, and I guess people like, I know when we've gone to festivals, we've been like very inspired before by certain things, like especially in like Toronto, Montreal, Chicago, like we just see like people doing stuff at such like a high caliber, and then they're also very nice, and we're just like, whoa, like that's, you think of like an industry and it seems like it's like cutthroat and blah blah blah, but then you like find like the nice weirdos and you're like, oh shit, people like us exist like all over, we just have to find them. You know, they're maybe not just like as obviously out there, but when you get to find those people, it's like so fucking, I don't know, magical. It's like it's so cool. So that's I love that. It's like a little
awesome.
game program.
Yeah.
It's I think that's the exact opposite of stand-up.
Yeah.
Y'all are like lone wolves, and you're like, get out of my way.
Taking a cigarette.
It's like a guy walks into a place with a notebook, and everyone's like, "What's this fucking guy doing here?" It's like, what do you think he's doing?
10 years if you want respect.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, guys, thank you. It's so wonderful. I want to thank you so much for serving that role as sort of being such wonderful liaisons and fostering community in such a fantastic way. Really, we do thank you for it. You've done wonderful work, and we're really honored to have you here on the podcast. That's pretty much the end of things. We would love to throw it to you guys for any final thoughts, things like that. Anything you want to plug? Anything you've got going on right now? It's a weird time to ask that question.
Well, that's not true.
Yeah.
We do have something actually cooking. So Incredible Dreams is gonna ride again at the Fringe Festival.
Fuck yeah.
So we're doing we're cooking up some really weird
shit.
video friendship.
Rose on pretty soon, we think.
Great. So we actually are going to talk with her tonight. We're having a little meeting. So we're very excited about that. We're definitely going to use our suburban home as like a film set in multiple ways for that. So we're stoked. Anything else?
Definitely, we're working on a short film with Rose that involves foot horror.
Oh my god! Like gross, really gross stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
But we're excited. And I don't know, catch us in our kitchen, making
making egg sandwiches.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It's been so.
Thanks for coming. This is awesome.
Yeah, we had a wonderful time. You've been amazing guests. My God, it's so refreshing to see people that don't have a sense of cynicism when it comes to the thing that they love to do. That's the thing is I love stand-ups, but my God, we'll cut that part of the show out. All right.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Let it be known that I hate open micers. So
Oh,
I look down on open
shots
micers.
Fired.
Don't like them.
On a scale of 1 to minions, how much do you like open micers?
Minions
too,
micers
huh?
are 9. Don't like them. Stay out of my mics or whatever. I don't know.
Stay out of my mics. Get your grubby little paws off my microphones.
Or whatever. I don't know.
They're
Whatever.
expensive. I don't know. Do we have no idea.
Well, thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much. And thanks for those kind. That was so nice.
That was so
that
nice,
makes me so happy.
All right, David.
On this
All right. See ya.
Bye.
All right.